Hello, Harrison. Hope you're doing very well. It's Auntie Gemma here. I am going to read you some stories. This one is called Before I Go to Sleep. And it is one of my favourites, or Before You Go to Sleep. This story is written by somebody called Benji Bennett. Cool name. So, here we go. Now, can we see that there? It's time to sleep. But before you go, there's something that I really want you to know. Look at that. I love you much more than a big sandy beach with sand dunes so high they seem far out of reach. I love you much more than the things that we've made on a hot sunny day with our bucket and our spade. This side here. To build a sandcastle from sand would be great, with seaweed for a roof and seashells for a gate. We could run to the rocks and we could use those as blocks. And for the flag on the top, well, we could use someone's socks. I love you much more than a big sandy beach. Oh, can we see here? I love you much more than the sun, the moon and stars, even much more than the red planet called Mars. I love you much more than outer space tune, sung to the world by the man on the moon. I love you much more than the sun, moon and stars. If we could fly a big rocket ship, what fun it would be on our magical trip. We could speed through the clouds to the heavens above and tell the outer space aliens all about love. I like that. I love you much more than the burning bright sun. I love it so much when we play and have fun. I love you much more than the world's tallest trees, even much more than a hug and a squeeze. Oh, love a hug and a squeeze. I love you much more than the burning bright sun. But if we were a bee, think of all that we could see as we fly to the top of the world's tallest tree. We could fly all around the daisies and roses, floating on the air with the sweet smell of our noses. How cool would that be? I love you much more than the deepest blue sea. I love you so much when you swim beside me. I love you so much more than the sea's octopuses. And going to school on their submarine buses. Look at that. How cool. If we could sail on a big pirate ship, we could walk the long plank and we could take a quick dip. How great it would be to find us some treasure made up of toys. Oh, now that would be a pleasure. Look at that one there. How amazing. I love you much more than the deepest blue sea. I love you so much more than the world's biggest plane that could fly up high and away from the rain. I love you so much more when I hold your sweet hand as we speed through the air to a faraway land. To fly around the world in a big jumbo jet would be a great trip that we would never forget. High in the sky, we'd get such a surprise to see the wonderful things with our very own eyes. Can you see some of the amazing things there? Look. How amazing. How wonderful. Oh, I love you so much more than, can you guess what it is? A big dinosaur that ruled over the earth with his big scary roar. I love you much more than a big grizzly bear who could scare a T-Rex with a very cross stare. I love you much more than that big dinosaur But if we could travel back to the past in a big time machine, we would have such a blast. We'd find a volcano, we'd dress up as cavemen, and we could watch it exploding again and again. I love you much more than a Halloween night when we dress up as ghosts and we give people a fright. Whoa. I love you much more than the witch loves her broom, mixing up potions in a spell-making room. And if we could dress up and do trick or treat, we'd fill up our bag with nuts and sweets. We could light a candle inside a pumpkin's head, and we could eat some of our sweets before we get to go to bed. I like Halloween. I love you much more than Christmas Eve night. Ooh, that's a big one. When Santa makes Rudolph's red nose shine so bright. I love you much more than the elves' clever tricks that they use to make presents that every child picks. I love you so much more than Christmas Eve night. But if we could fly to the North Pole and land, we could deliver our letter to Santa by hand. And then we could help the elves load Santa's sleigh. And we could wave to the reindeers as they fly away. Can you see how amazing? What's next? I love you much more than the world's biggest truck, picking up boulders, scooping up muck. Look at that. How amazing. I love you much more than red dynamite that makes a big bang and a flash of light. But if I drove a crane and you drove the digger, we could work together and we could make mountains much bigger. We could dress up as builders, we could wear bright yellow hats, and we could build some apartments, maybe for the eagles and bats. How do you think? That would be cool, wouldn't it? I love you much more than the world's biggest slide. Wow. Even much more than the roller coaster ride. I love you much more than a big theme parade. With singing, with dancing, sweet music played. But to go to a fun park, well, that would be magic. And we could buy a big ice cream and then we'd give it a lick. And imagine that day, if you could be the boss. You could buy the sugar popcorn and you could eat the candy floss. I love you much more than the world's biggest slide. The person who loves you is like no other. It's the person that loves you the most. It's your mother. She loves you so much because she grew you in her tummy. And that is why she is a wonderful mummy. Look at that. Night, night. Sleep tight, little bundle of joy. I love you much more than my favourite toy. My love for you is as bright as the sunlight. Sweet dreams, my love. I'll bid you good night. Sweet dreams. Night, night. Love you.